Maple Leafs back in action this weekend against the Red Wings. What do we expect in Game 2 of 82? Let's break it all down on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. What's happening, Dave? How we feeling on a Friday?
Feeling good. Busy night of hockey tonight, man.
Dude, first Thursday of the year, brother. It's the way that it is. You mean Friday's busy?
Yeah. I think
first week. It's the first week of
yeah.
the season.
So like for Thursday, it was a lot of games for Thursday.
Thursday's normal, isn't it? You like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday are like the heavy days.
But like there's like nothing on. I think there's like one game. Is there one game on Friday? No, there's no games on Friday. Like nothing on Friday. 14 on Thursday, and then like 16 on Saturday.
Yeah, man, gear it up, right? Everyone wants to watch it on Saturday. Everyone's going to be tuned in, ready to go. First hockey night in Canada of the season. You got the Leafs, Red Wings, a little Original Six rivalry going on between those two. They just saw each other a couple of days ago. So it's we'll see if things are different, I guess, in, neither team ice their full rosters against one another. So probably will turn out to be a little bit different, but yeah, Leafs back in action this weekend. I think we both kind of anticipate, the first couple of weeks to be a little sloppy. And we saw that in the first game against the Montreal Canadiens. The Red Wings certainly were sloppy against Montreal last night. They lost 5-1. No one's really going to be in fine form all across the NHL. There's definitely some players that you expect to kind of rebound after, that subpar opening night that they had against Les Habitants. So I've actually got a Friday 5-pack, a little pressure list, if you will, to bounce back after a subpar opening night. So I got a 5-pack list. Do we do it now or do we do it a little later on the show? What do you think?
I think maybe we just do it a little later because we want to maybe get into the matchup a little bit.
All right, we'll do a little later on. I got my Friday 5-pack pressure list. 5 guys who need to bounce back after an underwhelming opening night against the Montreal Canadiens in their matchup this weekend against the Red Wings. So it's a Saturday night matchup, 7 o'clock puck drop, hockey night in Canada. It's the first Saturday game of the year. The game's in Toronto. Both teams have played one game so far. Both played the same opponent, the Montreal Canadiens. We know the Maple Leafs were victorious in that game the other night, 5-2. They beat the Habs. Well, the Red Wings lost 5-1 last night to Montreal, who was on the second half of a back-to-back at that. So the Red Wings probably going to be a little pissed off with the way things played out in their season opener. I'd imagine that they'll be roaring and ready to go in this one against Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a big night for them. They got the fancy jerseys going out there, and like this is a year for Detroit where they need to finally show if they're worthy of being a playoff team, right? It used to be the Red Wings would always make the playoffs. Now they just can't get into the playoffs. So I'm curious to see, like what's different maybe come Saturday for Detroit, because it's just a lot that did look too pretty for them.
Well, they got a new goalie, and they're hoping that was going to sort a lot of problems, right? They went out and traded for the fossil John Gibson, who's been in the league now forever, it seems, and they figure, let's go out and get another 35 and over goaltender who can maybe solve the issues in net. Well, he got shelled for 5 goals in his opening night game against Montreal. Maybe it's the players in front of the goalies. If you filter through, 10 goalies the last 3 years in Detroit, maybe the problem's up front. And I've always questioned what the heck Steve Yzerman's been doing there the last few years. It really is a random kind of ragtag bunch. Like, let's take a look at the lines and take a look at the matchup here that the Maple Leafs will be lined up against coming this upcoming weekend, tomorrow night on Saturday. It's such a weird grouping of vets and some younger guys, but it's just like some random vets, free agents that they've brought in. It's like a ragtag bunch of guys. So they've got Finney, Larkin, and Lucas Raymond as the top line there. Obviously, Larkin and Raymond, those are two staples. Those are two, highly coveted, drafted, developed players for Detroit. Finney, I didn't know who this guy was until earlier today. I read up about him. This guy's a 7th-round pick 2 years ago, and he debuted on the top line for the Detroit Red Wings in that loss to Montreal. So maybe there'll be some finagling with the lineups after that game. But this Finney kid, hey, I mean, 7th-round pick 2 years ago, you end up on the top line of the Detroit Red Wings. Good early story in Detroit. Good camp story for sure.
I mean, absolutely. Like like you look at this lineup and like
Emmett Finney, by the way, Emmett Finney.
Yeah. He's actually Canadian from Ontario. So in case somebody was wondering what nationality could he possibly be.
Interesting, because he played in the dub.
It's so weird. This guy must have traveled quite over. He must have just had quite a journey to get to the NHL. But like,
no, he's from Lethbridge. What are you talking about?
Oh, I thought he was from Ontario. What did I?
No, Lethbridge, Alberta. I'm seeing. Okay. Yeah, kid's from Lethbridge. He played. It says Yale Hockey Academy. Is that like the actual? Did he play in the States for a little bit? I don't know. But anyways, really good story last year in the dub. His final season, he was the captain of Kamloops, 84 points in 55 games for the Blazers. So really solid couple final years in the WHL, and this year cracks the roster and makes the top 6. Kind of a cool story. Really cool story for this Finney cat. DeBrincat, Kaspar, and Patrick Kane. Yes, if you forgot, Patrick Kane returned to Detroit on a multi-year deal. So Patrick Kane still out there. That Kane versus Matthews rivalry exists even still in 2025, just now with a different team. You've got JT Compher, Andrew Kopp, and Branzig Nygaard as your third line, Soderblom, Rasmussen, and Appleton as your fourth line. Defensively, you got Sherratt and Sider, Edvinson and Sandin Pellikka, very young, up-and-coming pairing there. And then Albert Johansson and Travis Hamonic make up the third pair. And then you got John Gibson and Cam Talbot as your goaltending tandem there. What sticks out to you about this lineup here, Dave?
It's just like some decent talent mixed in with some over-the-hill veterans, I kind of want to say.
Yeah, or just like meh veterans. You know what this looks like to me? I've been saying this now for like 2 years, I feel. So forgive me if I've brought this up or brought this to people's attention on the podcast before. It honestly feels like you're, I don't know, like 4 years into like NHL 22. Like you're like 4 or 5 years into NHL 22, and you just signed a couple of guys off free agency. You had a couple of guys who you drafted, developed, but really there's no actual identity of this team. Like, I don't know what they are. It looks like a video game roster that had just been like simulated 6 years maybe from like 2019, and you're like, oh, this guy's here now. Oh, that guy's there. Oh, they signed Patrick Kane. Okay, looks like they had a couple of draft picks that turned out to be decent. Oh wow, John Gibson at 35, they signed him. Odd signing. It's just such a random group. Like, I don't know what the Yzer plan is out in Detroit, but it didn't go well in the first game against Montreal. I can tell you that. It certainly didn't go well. So I am curious to see how they bounce back against Toronto, because I'd imagine that they will. I don't think they're that bad of a team. I still expect Detroit to be in the mix for a playoff spot. But they're going to be battling with Montreal, with Ottawa, with the teams in the Metro for one of those final spots, the wild card spots. So yeah, Detroit's a bizarre looking lineup.
I don't get the direction. Like, you look at that center ice position. Yeah, like the center ice position, you always know how a rebuild or how a team is progressing when you look at how their center is, like, have they been able to find there? They've missed on quite a few draft picks too. Like have to remind yourself that Joe Veleno is now on the Montreal Canadiens and not on the Detroit Red Wings, because that was a pick that didn't work out for them.
Yeah, Rasmussen was a top pick for them. He's a fourth line center. Like that, you take a guy in the top 10, you're hoping he's not a 4C. Like that.
And like Ben Sherratt in your top pairing, like Sider deserves a lot better than that. And if you want to know what really went bad for them tonight, that third pairing of Johansson and Hamonic, that like they stunk terribly.
Yeah,
like
caved in.
So like it's just not a good collection of talent, and like they bring in Tom McClellan to try to steer this team into the right direction. And it's like, well, steer what? like it's not good enough, right? And like at what point does the Yzerman shine sort of wear off for him in that? Because we know what he means to that market.
To me, it's already gone for me. But I would think if they go another year without making the playoffs, without seeing
any
positive, any positive progression in the Yzer plan, just much like the Shanna plan, it's like it's stale, it's not working, got to move on. But they're only one game into the year. Like we can't completely dismiss, everything. But the last couple of years, and then you start off on a bad note, it's like, the Red Wings might be same old. But we'll see what they end up doing here against Toronto. Let's take a break. Let's come back. We'll take a peek at what the Maple Leafs will be sending out there, the lineup for Toronto. Maybe there could be a tinker or two. We'll discuss the merits of that and check on our Locked On players to watch. That's next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. The NHL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I tell you, I love using it. You can do player props, you can do money line plays, SGPs, live betting, futures, however you want to play it. You like the Leafs tomorrow? Go ahead, take them on the money line. They win, put down $5, you get $300 in bonus bets. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new episodes coming out each and every day. You can find the Locked On Leafs podcast wherever you get a podcast, Apple, Spotify, you name it, and also on YouTube. We ask if you enjoy and you want daily Leafs coverage, subscribe to the podcast wherever you consume it. Maple Leafs, Red Wings tomorrow night. First game on a Saturday. It's a little Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. Leafs second game of the season, hoping to go 2-0, build off that opening night win against the Montreal Canadiens. Let's take a peek at who they might be icing in this one going into tomorrow night's game against the Detroit Red Wings. So the lineup that we have here is the same lineup that played opening night against Montreal. So it's Nyes, Matthews, Michelli, McMahon, Tavares, and Nylander, Joshua, Domi, and Robertson, Lorentz, Watt, and Yarncroc, and then the same group of defensemen that we'd seen, obviously, and expected to see all year long, with Stolarz as your starter. I expect the defensive grouping and the goalie situation to stay the same. I am curious, though, Dave, after a not-so-hot-looking Game 1, and knowing that Easton Cowan is currently on the 23-man roster, could we see a move up front from what we saw on Wednesday?
Yeah, and like Craig Berube was asked today on Kipper and Bourne, just like what's kind of the plan for Easton Cowan, and he's like, well, we can't have him sitting. Right. I just think they're just going to try different things. And I do think that likely you would see Cowan come in because, I mean, how many players you look at that lineup, especially in the bottom six, you could say, yeah, you can't take this guy out. This guy deserves to play over Easton Cowan. Like, probably the centers. I would say Robertson, Yarncroc are two players that can easily come out if you want to get Easton Cowan in. It just all depends on how they want to kind of deploy that.
Yeah, I agree. I think they will get him into the lineup, and the player I would take out is probably Nick Robertson. And I heard that hit earlier today on Kipper and Bourne, or on Thursday rather, on Kipper and Bourne, and he was actually quite complimentary of Calle Yarncroc, who was one of the few goal scorers for Toronto the other night, and said, he's a good player. He likes having him. So sounds like he wants to keep him in the mix, keep him playing and keep him on that fourth line. So kind of seems to me like Nick Robertson's probably the odd man out. And if you want to get Cowan into the lineup that badly, he's the guy I think that comes out. So you throw Easton Cowan onto that third line with Domi and Joshua. At least there's some skill there. So he's not completely, playing with guys who don't have much skill. So you will have him get some opportunity in the offensive zone, get him some puck touches. Domi can get him the puck over there, and maybe they come up with something. And it looks good. If it does, great. Keep him in the lineup. If it doesn't, and that trio gets scored on, maybe he ends up back down in the American League. But I would like to see him if he's here with the team and he's on the 23-man roster. Get him into games. Get him into a game. I think this one against Detroit at home, first hockey night in Canada. Get him into his NHL debut, and away we go. I want to see it happen this weekend. Want to see it.
It'll actually be probably a shorter trip for his family to go to Detroit than it would be to go to Toronto for the game tonight, because it is in Detroit.
Is it in Detroit? The game's in Detroit.
Detroit Detroit on Saturday night, and then Toronto on Monday.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense. Again, you look at that. Yes, they scored 5 goals, but I do think that there was a lot left to be desired. And I just think you also kind of want to keep the other players a little honest to say, hey, we got guys here that are willing to come in and play some, give us some good minutes. Even Sammy Blais, I don't think he's going to be sitting in the press box too often either, right? So
he's gonna want to get in there and get his puck touches and get a little sweat on. He for sure is going to want to play some games. So we'll see. We'll see what the lineup looks like. That's the projected lines as of now based on Wednesday's game. And the only tinker I could possibly see and would like to see him, I think most likely we will see, is Easton Cowan checking in for Nick Robertson. So those are the lineups for tonight's game. Let's take a peek at our locked on players to watch. So whenever you get Patrick Kane versus Auston Matthews, that's the matchup that we're keying in on. And it's not what it used to be, right? It's not going to be, the heyday of Chicago when Kane and Matthews were going back and forth and, they were 7-6 gong shows. You remember those games, right? The Hulk Hogan. I mean, it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. So it's not quite that anymore, obviously. But those two, certainly, those are the players that we're locked in on. And you look at Patrick Kane and what he's done in his career against the Maple Leafs. 29 games, 17 goals, 38 points in 29 games against Toronto. So, again, coming off a loss to Montreal, they're going to be pissed. They're going to want to get their first win of the season at home. I believe it'd be is it a home opener? Were they in Montreal last night? Is this the home opener for Detroit?
No, they were at home. They were at home tonight.
So either way, you're at home. You want to pick up your first 2 points, first home win, first win of the season. I'm locked in on Patrick Kane. Showtime to try and lead the charge for Detroit.
Oh no, absolutely. He's still got quite a bit left in the tank. I know that. I mean, we had talked about would the Leafs consider going after Patrick Kane, in the offseason to try to give him, add a little bit of that top 6 element to the roster. I think when you look at his game, he's not the 92-point player that he was, in his second last season in Chicago, but I still think he's still a guy that can get 20 goals and flirt with 55, 60 points, which, for a 36-year-old that had hip surgery 2 years ago,
yeah, it's not bad.
It's not bad. And he did have an assist tonight, so he's one of the few guys that actually got on the score sheet. But
they scored once, and he was a part of it. So just goes to show at 36, Showtime, Yeah, he can still work some magic when he's got the puck in his hands. And Auston Matthews is the guy for me that I'm locked in on. Didn't like his performance in game one whatsoever. I think he's got to bounce back with a massive one here tonight in game two of the season against Detroit. And it's, he's had a lot of success against Detroit, 19 goals in 26 games against the Red Wings, 34 points in total. So I'm locked in on Auston Matthews for a nice bounce back performance tonight.
Yeah, this is the type of opponent that you want to see Matthews come alive against because, again, they're a team that struggled. They're also a team that's, when I watched that game against when that Matthews played against Detroit, like they were hard on him. They're kind of physical, but I think he pushed back quite well. So yeah, he has to kind of lead things a little bit better. I mean, Craig Berube kind of discussed that. Yeah, he might have possessed the puck, but just wasn't a lot coming with it, right? They weren't executing plays very well, and he's gonna have to start executing a lot of those a lot more now, right? And look, yes, you got a new player on that line with Michelli. It's going to take a little bit of time to kind of get used to it, but Matthews has to leave that charge on that line.
Yeah, and last year he has scored a goal in 3 straight games against Detroit. Only played in 2 of the meetings against Detroit a year ago, and he scored in both of them. So definitely a guy we're keying in on to have a big bounce back here. Maybe that's a little bit of a tease for my Friday 5-pack coming up in just a couple of moments. But before we get into that, Dave, what are the 3 keys to victory for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yeah, so obviously the big one here, the power play. Don't get scored on. Be in the positive, right? Don't be in the negative.
Yeah.
Shoot the damn puck, guys. Shoot the damn puck.
Is that where we start? Like, not start with let's get rolling, let's score. Let's start just by not getting scored on.
Yeah, that'd kind of be a good start. Let's make sure that the puck stays out of our net when we're on the man advantage. But just too many, passing, and then forcing plays that just aren't there. You got to get the penalty kills moving. You got to have them respect that you're going to actually shoot it and not try to find that perfect pass every time. I just it look, and I know some people are like, it's just one game. No, I've been seeing it. We've been seeing this for a while. This team just wants to make they're too refined in what they want to do on the power play. Sometimes just try to do the simple things. Yeah. Usually it'll work out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you got to get the big boys going. Like it was such a quiet night from Matthews and Nylander and Tavares. Nyes up until he made the play. He had the breakaway, which led to the Riley goal. Made that nice play to get him the puck. But outside of that, it was a bit of a quiet night for the top 6, which you don't love. You want to get these guys going early. So hopefully you can get Matthews and Nylander on the score sheet early and often and be off to the races. So get the big boys going for sure has to be a key to victory for the Leafs tonight. What's the third and final key to a win here for the Maple Leafs, Dave?
Well, when the opposing team's goaltender allows 5 goals on, I'm just going to double check. I'm pretty sure it was 18 shots.
Ooh.
13 shots. He had 8 saves. He almost allowed more goals than he did saves. You may want to test this guy. And I'll give them credit. They found a way to get 5, although 2 of them were empty nets. It just, even if it's Cam Talbot in net, like Cam Talbot isn't a goal you should be, worried about.
Yeah. You think it'll be Talbot? You think I would go back with Gibson. I mean,
I think you have to make a bit. You made that trade and you should stick by him, but at the same time, I don't know how I don't know if they've definitely say this guy is our starter versus we're gonna go with the tandem. I don't know how that's working in Detroit, but something tells me you probably should just go back to Gibson because you should show a little bit of we got your back. But I mean, if you're the Leafs and you see that, your eyes should be lighting up.
Yeah. Either way, light up the tendy. Just pepper the goalie and hopefully something goes off a body, takes a bounce. You never know. But you throw everything on net, and there's the best way to score is to put pucks on goal, right? Play that straight line game that Berube loves, and take it to the net. Be direct, and hopefully the offense comes through a little more for Toronto. All right, so going into tomorrow's game, I got a Friday 5-pack. It's a pressure list. Guys who need to rebound from a subpar opening night performance. 5 guys coming up next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new podcast episodes detailing everything you need to know about the Maple Leafs, high-end analysis, recaps, previews, and lists. And we got a pressure list here. Friday 5-pack, which is somewhat of a staple here. Every Friday, we like to put together a list of some kind. And we're looking at a list of guys who need to rebound after a poor or a subpar opening night performance. So I'll start from 5 and work my way down to the number 1 guy who needs to really bounce back. So coming at number 5, I've got the pairing of Tanev and McCabe. Like the two of those guys, sub 20% expected goal differential. They were absolutely caved in and peppered. And this is supposed to be, the lockdown, shutdown pairing. And those two did not put on a good showing. They didn't do a good job killing plays, getting the puck out of the zone. So Tanev and McCabe, I think for sure are going to want to have a big time bounce back in game number 2 here against Detroit.
Yeah, I kind of just felt they were also kind of lacking the physicality.
Yeah, that's a big part of it too, right? Like
Tanev was trying to do the little stick poking and stick checks, and I'm
the speed of Montreal too was I think it was a
Detroit's
problem.
A fast team.
Detroit, they got
skate.
Yeah, they got some guys who can skate. They're also
Dylan Larkin will love to go up against this Tanev McCabe pairing.
Larkin, that guy, he's got some wheels. Yes, Larkin can certainly skate. But yeah, Tanev McCabe coming in at number 5 for me. Number 4, I got Matias Maccelli. He's there's already pressure built in for him coming in, taking the spot of Mitch Marner. And not that I don't think anyone's expecting him to be Mitch Marner. That would be absolutely stupid to think that this guy's going to become that. But you do have a big opportunity, man, right next to Auston Matthews. And if he puts up another nothing burger of a game, he puts up 0 shots on goal, he gets 0 scoring chances in the game, and you're the guy on the wing right next to him who's supposed to be feeding him the puck, that's not going to look good. Not going to look good on you. And I'm not so sure that Berube is going to, have that long of a leash on Maccelli. They might look to mix some things up a little bit if things don't get cooking on that top line. So I think Matias Maccelli has to make sure that line creates a little more, and he's got to be part of it.
He does. I think, we haven't had the staple. I'm not expecting Matias Maccelli to go out and have 4 assists or anything crazy like that. I do want to see him kind of talk about it with Max Domi, shoot. Because guess what teams are going to do now? They're going to assume you're going to be passing it. Be a little unpredictable for your opposition. I like the fact that he does try to go in and make and not give up on a play. I do appreciate that. But, sometimes you just got to do the simple things, right? When you're trying to develop chemistry, don't try to do too much, right? Just, play within what you can do. I'm not suggesting that he hasn't been doing it. I just think that top line wasn't doing anything simple.
Yeah, and that's a word that is ingrained or should be ingrained in their minds when they're out there playing, because that's a word that Craig Berube uses all the time. Just play simple, right? Play simple hockey, keep it simple, be direct, go to the net, north-south, that's Craig Berube isms to the max. So absolutely, that's got to be the way that he's going to have to play. Just keep it simple, make the smart pass, not the flashy pass, and try and work your way up ice. That's what Matias Maccelli is going to have to do in this one. If a shot lane opens up, don't pass on it, right? Don't pass it up. Take the shot. Take that opportunity as it comes. All right, coming at number 3, I've got William Nylander at number 3. Another guy who put up a nothing burger, 0 shots on goal here in the loss to, or in the win in opening night. But he had a shot on goal, but it wasn't until obviously the empty net goal.
He didn't have as many shot on goals as we've come to expect from him.
No shot on a goalie. Not a single shot on a goaltender in that one. I didn't think that, as in terms of him, we thought maybe he could improve his 200-foot play a little bit. Didn't really see much out of him in that game. So William Nylander, again, you need this team to rely on its big boys to come up big for you. Nylander did not do nearly enough for me in the game on Friday or on Wednesday. So he comes in at number 3 on my pressure list.
I do think that when you look at Nylander, him and Craig Berube have kind of this yin yang sort of thing. He just has to be. We know what William Nylander, when he puts his shoulder down and just is more dominant with the puck.
Me and Frank Corrado always call it a knee bend. When he gets that knee bend, shoulder down, bends the knee, puts a little power into his game, that's when Willie's at his best. That's when he's at his best. The stop ups, the pass play, right? The curl backs, the drop passes, the backhand sauce. Like, that's not what William Nylander, that's not necessarily where he finds his success, right? That's not when he's most dangerous. It's when he's engaged and he's going full tilt, right? He's on his toes, not on his heels. And that's when he's cooking. So hopefully we see that a little more here against the Detroit Red Wings. Coming at number 2, Dave, on my Friday 5-pack, a pressure list of guys who need to bounce back in game 2 of the season. Marc Savard. Savard and that power play, because it was horrendous. It was hideous on opening night. 0 for 2 and a -1 at that. Auston Matthews was outshot 4-0 on the power play. 4-0. Your PP1's outshot 4-0. It's absurd. To be outscored is one thing, but to be outshot as well is just ridiculous. So I know there's no Mitch Marner, so you got to kind of work out, how they're going to operate, because he's kind of been the quarterback up at the top of the slot as they had that 5-man unit. So it's a little different, obviously, and their general is not on the ice. So it's going to take some time to get there. I understand that, but you cannot sit there and get outshot, outscored moving forward. Like, that just can't simply be the case. You don't win a lot of games when you lose the special teams battles. They got away with one, obviously, on Wednesday. But Marc Savard, as the assistant who's in charge of the power play, got to make sure that his boys are locked in. Can't allow such a lazy power play like they did the other night. So that's why I got Marc Savard here at number 2.
I think they spend too much time with the puck at the point or at the wall. That's not where they're going to score.
It's all perimeter. All perimeter.
Work the puck down low, right? Have somebody work it down low and feeding.
Or to the middle. Let's get the puck into the middle, right? Let's utilize Matthew Nyes a little more. Utilize John Tavares a little more in the middle of the ice. Get it on goal. Let those guys, get a screen. Let them bang away at a rebound. Let's try something different.
Yeah, and look, Auston Matthews can shoot, but when the other team is expecting him to always shoot, they're going to get into the shooting lane, and he's not going to shoot. They pass him the puck. He thinks about going for one time, and then he holds up. That shouldn't be happening for Auston Matthews. He needs to shoot. So they need to stop this idea of, we're just going to move it around the perimeter, hope something opens up. That's not going to work. No. Teams know what you're trying to do. Be less predictable.
And number 1 guy who's got the most pressure to bounce back after a lackluster opening night of the season, it's got to be Auston Matthews, man. Has to be Auston Matthews. I mean, you got a 25% expected goals against the Montreal Canadiens. You don't put up a single shot on a goalie. The only shot you got credited for was the empty net goal you scored. The shot share was like 31-13 when you were out there on the ice. Not a single scoring chance while you're out there onto the ice. You talk about, the last time we saw Matthews, what was he talking about? There's too many passengers. Too many passengers was the comment he made when they got eliminated by Florida, if I'm not mistaken. He was a passenger that night. And for game one, to be the captain in your home opener, to not set the tone, didn't like it. Didn't like the game whatsoever. He's got to bring it to Detroit. He's got to be the best player on the ice in this game, and bounce back in a big way. Again, he has had lots of success against Detroit in his career. He's owned this team. He's scored in 3 straight games. It's 19 goals in 28 games against the Red Wings. Auston Matthews has to be not a passenger. He's got to be a guy who is going to drive to the net. He's got to drive play, pedal to the metal, shoot pucks on net. He's got to look like Nathan MacKinnon. He's got to play like Nathan MacKinnon. Marner's not there anymore. He's got to be more in charge, and he's got to be more willing to take things by himself out there. So Auston Matthews didn't like his performance one bit opening night. Has to bounce back here. He's number 1 on my pressure list.
Yeah, he's got to be more direct, right? You can't go goalless too much to start the year. Yes, he has a goal, but shooting, get your shot going. We haven't seen that patent Auston Matthews shot a lot. It's
just weird because he looked pretty good in the 2 preseason games. And again, it's preseason, right? So like you're facing, lackluster. You're not facing true NHLers. The 2 lineups that he faced, I guess, were kind of B squads for the opposition. He's playing against some American League or third pair defensemen. So I guess, it makes sense that he looked pretty good. But, the shot was there, right? Like it looked like it was in fine order. And it made me think, maybe – we could see a bunch of goals early and often out of this guy, but didn't like his game 1 performance. But it's only one game. We're not sounding any alarms that Matthews is cooked. Absolutely not. But you bounce back in game 2, and it doesn't even matter, right? So he's the guy I'm looking for to be the player of the game essentially, and lead the charge here for the Maple Leafs Saturday night.
Yeah, he has to kind of do it, especially the top 6. Like, Tavares and Nylander, I think, will eventually get going. But if this team truly wants to dominate, right, and kind of just undeniable in a lot of ways in terms of the type of year they want to have, they're going to have to find ways to be dominant, stay in the zone more. But if you're going to also have that possession time, be dangerous. Get those opportunities on net. It's nice to have the puck. Got to do something with it.
Yeah, 100%. All right. I think that does it for us here today, Dave. Appreciate it. Thank you to everyone for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys on Monday. We'll recap the game. Got a game on Monday too that we'll be able to tee up for you for Canadian Thanksgiving. So if anyone's having their turkeys on Sunday, enjoy the time with your family. Enjoy the weekends. We'll be back on Monday with another episode. Until then, go Leafs, go. And keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.